Well, speaking of joining us together, Vashti Cunningham and Randall Cunningham. Randall is 16-year career in the NFL. Vashti, one of the top high jumpers in the U.S., definitely one to watch for the Tokyo Olympics, pushed back a year. They both join us from Las Vegas right now, where I would imagine the streets are empty and quiet, feels a little bit different in Las Vegas. Vashti, what has it been like out there the last month or so?
Out here in Vegas, it has been just kind of slow. Everything's just kind of been closed down and not too many people out. It's just different than, anything that I've ever seen growing up here in Las Vegas.
Randall, what was the reaction when you found out that the Olympics were going to be postponed and then put on the calendar 1 year later?
Mixed emotions. On the one hand, I'm thinking we're prepared and ready to go. Vashti's ready. On the other hand, with my son Randall II coming back, it gives him time to heal up a little bit more and get adjusted to jumping again because he's excited and fired up and ready to go.
Vashti, what was it like emotionally for you as you were waiting to find out and then did find out the eventual reschedule?
I definitely thought that it was a possibility that the Olympics would be getting postponed. The time that it actually was announced that it was postponed and, versus the times of me kind of trying to figure it out myself in my head, it was just very different, hearing it and reading it that this season we've been preparing for a year, and since the last Olympics is moved to the next year, it was just something that was just very, very weird to hear.
You see some of the successes for Vashti with dad coaching, 8 times the indoor or the outdoor U.S. champ. She competed in Rio, 3rd in the worlds last year, so things were really building. Randall, as a dad, can you go back and take us, not to your football background, but your high jump background and how that's impacted this portion of your life?
It was a lot different back then. Back in the 80s and late 70s and 80s, I finished up in 81 jumping about 6'10". I don't compare to my kids. I was okay. I wouldn't have gotten a scholarship for track and field. They train a lot harder than I did back then, and I was really focused on football. But looking at the way things are today in sports and being able to watch my daughter go against those throughout the world and be ranked number 4 in the world and number 1 in America, it's amazing. The trips we've taken to Rome and Monaco and been in London so many times and just be in Venice in Italy and just to really have fun as a family. One-on-one time with my daughter has been amazing. So this whole experience is great.
And Vashti, the way you train, if you could explain to folks that it might not be the most modern training in terms of what other high jumpers around the world are doing, but it's one that under your roof works. Explain what you do.
Yeah, so me and my dad and my brother, we train a little bit different than the typical high jumper. We actually don't jump very much. We lift about 5 days of the week, and then a couple weeks out of the month, we might jump on a Tuesday and then just keep lifting for the next 2 weeks and then jump a different Tuesday. So it's really just the consistency of the strength in our body and, maintaining everything that we've been pushing our body to rather than wearing it down jumping.
And Randall, you used to do a workout that was different from the other players, especially your time in Philadelphia, and that's what your kids are doing now.
Yeah, I took the old school approach, and then what I did is I did a lot of research after I finished my career, and I combined what I did, what I learned through when I ran the West Coast offense and the way we would recover. I kind of used what we did weight-wise, and then incorporated a lot of different exercises for the legs. But at the same time, the jumping is not a lot, as Vashti says, and the recovery is very important, and the preparation prior to going in the track meet, the rest is very important, and then taking the proper nutrition is so important. A lot of people see Vashti and they go like, "Oh, she's so skinny." Well, she chooses to eat very healthy on her own, and then I try to put the proteins and things in her body that will sustain her. And so the approach with the lifting and not jumping, she may jump on a year 10 times the whole year, like once a month. That's it in a track meet. So we're trying to preserve her. I'm not trying to burn her out as a young kid. She's only 22 years old.
Vashti, last before I leave you, your dad is your dad? your coach, a pastor. Is it hard to separate sometimes which message is coming your way at a certain time?
Man, when I first signed professionally with track and field, it was very hard for me to separate it all. And just, as God has allowed us to keep working together and growing together and allowed me to mature and understand everything that he's saying and why he's saying it, then it's become so much easier to separate it and to hear what I need to hear rather than what I don't want to hear. So it's definitely something that has been in the works, and I'm really happy that we have, got to the balance that we have right now.
Well, we hope for Tokyo to be on time because whether it's your fashion taste, your desire to be a National Geographic photographer down the line, you have so many varied interests. It's one of the great stories of the Olympics and an awesome father-daughter story that we're able to share. Randall, great to catch up with you. Vashti, thank you both so much, and we look forward to seeing you on the road to Tokyo next year.
Thank you, Mike.
Keep up the good work.